This is Inside Badger Football with head coach Trey Shucker. Inside Badger Football is brought to you by the Arkadelphia Alliance and Chamber of Commerce, ATO Automotive, Batson Signs, Bell Wealth Services, Blakelytown, Chad Kesterson Shelter Insurance, Chicken Express, Citizens Bank, Domino's, Eccles, Thompson and Kneebone CPA, Doctors Gary and Rob Rucker, Knight Insurance Professionals, L&J Auto Sales, Ludwig's Bakery, Park Hill Baptist Church, Patterson Federal Credit Union, Print Mania, Providence Veterinary Care, Roger Wingfield State Farm, Scott Bird DDS, The Sexton Firm, South Central Connect, Southern Bancorp, Southwest Auto Collection, Taylor King Law, Tea Time Sims, Trinity Temple Assembly of God, Turner, Rogers, Manning and Plyler CPA, Twin Rivers Health and Rehabilitation, and Welch Funeral Home. The host of Inside Badger Football is Cooper Dar.
Hi, and welcome back to Inside Badger Football. I'm Cooper Dar, and joined with me, as always, is head coach Trey Shucker. How are you today, Coach?
Doing wonderful. Glad to be here.
Yes, sir. Well, hey, I'm glad to be here. It's been 2
welcome
weeks.
back.
It's been 2 weeks since I've been here as well. So I'm excited to talk about some football, Coach. Coming off of a great homecoming week against Found Lake, that game was incredible. Do y'all feel like y'all handled homecoming week pretty well?
Yeah, I thought we did. Just the whole day in general, I thought our players, our seniors, did a really good job of staying focused, enjoying the moment, enjoying the day, and all the things that go along with it, and then going out and taking care of business Friday night.
That's right. Well, you always have to take care of business Friday night to get to enjoy homecoming,
Yeah.
So looks like y'all handled it well, and the huge crowd was always fun to see the Badgers really execute.
No doubt. Anytime it's a home game in Badger Stadium, especially on a night like homecoming, the fan base really comes out and supports, and it's a really good job, and it's a great environment to play in. It's really fun, and Friday night, just like that in Badger Stadium, it's special.
Yes, sir. Well, Coach, let's go ahead and talk about the Fountain Lake game. Your offense this past game, 7 possessions. The first 7 possessions equaled 7 touchdowns. Let's talk about that. They ran out the clock just later on, but, I mean, 7 for 7 is pretty awesome.
Yeah, no, it is. And, the goal is to score on every possession. We actually did that Friday night, and that was very encouraging because we've struggled at times. We've been inconsistent at times, and we knew that if we haven't reached our full potential offensively, and we still haven't, but it was very encouraging for our offense to go out and be explosive and just get in a rhythm and execute the way that we did Friday. And that was felt really good, and that's just kind of what we needed. I feel like we can build on that moving forward.
Coach, it felt like your defense was on a different level as well this game. And yes, the huge crowd helps, but your defense being clutch as always. They came up with turnovers, stops. Talk about how important that was in this game.
Yeah. We knew that we were going against some talented quarterbacks, some talented receivers. They made some really good plays, but our defense didn't break. We knew that we could get pressure on the quarterback. We knew we could be disruptive, and we knew that we had to tackle well, and I thought we did that.
All right, Coach, let's go ahead and watch the Fountain Lake highlights from this past week. About 9 minutes of highlights starting here in the first quarter, starting off with a touchdown on your first possession, and as we said earlier, the first 7 possessions. Talk about how important that is.
Yeah, they won the toss, so they elected to get the ball first. So we wanted to go out and set the tone defensively. We wanted to set the tone for the rest of the game. So doing that, you have to get a stop. You have to create a turnover. You got to get them off the field, and we did that. Put the ball in our offense's hands. We did a really good job of just taking what the defense has given us offensively, and that's really what it really come down to. Just executing our plays, take what they're giving us. Sophomore quarterback Bryce Meekin went out, played the first quarter at quarterback, did a really good job. You see him pull the ball right here, and this is one of the traits that he has is he can run the ball really, really well, and he did that Friday night for us. He ended up scoring 2 touchdowns off of a run pull, and when you can do that, it just adds another element for the defense to have to cover and defend.
Coach, talk about how important that is from a quarterback to watch those reads, know when to pull. Talk about how hard that really is.
Yeah, it can be pretty difficult at times depending on who you're playing, but Bryce, It's not his first time playing the position. You know, it's something that he's done his whole life. Right now he's starting at receiver for us. But he was able to start the first quarter. He went out and did a really good job of being able to execute it.
Coach, your running backs have been more explosive than ever as the season has gone on. Talk about all of your running backs.
Yeah, we played 3 different ones Friday, and you just see Bryce Meekin pull the ball again for a touchdown. But all 3 of them, we starting running backs, Caden Whitaker, Jr. He's one of the ones we've talked a lot about. Blake Moody's a senior running back for us. He came in later in the game and ran the ball hard. And then we've got another junior running back, Mario Brownlee. He also had a really strong running game also, and he's been able to put back-to-back weeks at running back with some explosive runs, some strong runs, and he's gaining some confidence also in the backfield.
Coach, it was fun to get to see your linebackers really make a big difference in this game. Ethan Lewis, Malachi Hamilton, Q Morris, all the guys that we usually hear. But talk specifically about Ethan Lewis. He had a heck of a game.
He did. Junior linebacker for us. Was really flying around. We saw a big hit. I know we didn't get to talk about it, but he had a really big hit on the screen a little bit ago. Just really played fast, was very explosive. You know, he was a strong tackler Friday. It's really where, you know, where he excelled. He always has great pursuit, always plays, you know, really, really hard. But he just had an exceptional game. He was in position to make the play, and he made the play every time.
Coach, that last play right there, Cam Archer, I mean, his speed is almost unimaginable, you know.
He's the fast one on the field, yes.
Talk about, was that his speed right there, or was that his route running capabilities? How was he so open in that play?
On that one, on that play specifically, it's just use your speed and get behind the defense, and that's what he did. I think he's arguably the fastest player when he has the ball in his hands that we have. When the ball's in his hands or when he's trying to get open or run a ball down, he just finds an extra gear that most people don't have. So he's just really explosive, really fast, and that's what he did on that play.
Coach, your defense, I mean, it was a great game, the entire game. Only allowing a pretty good offense with multiple all-state returners to very little touchdowns, you know. So talk about your defense and how important just keeping that score as close to 0 as possible was.
Yeah, you know, it just goes back to that bend but don't break defense. You know, when you go against good players, you know, Fountain Lake has some good players. When you go against that, they're going to make plays here and there. They're going to make some unbelievable catches. They're going to make some unbelievable throws. And you can't break. You can't get your head down when that happens. You got to be ready for the next play. And I thought that's what our defense did. Because there's some unbelievable plays and catches throughout the game that Fountain Lake was able to hook up. But our defense just stayed true and kept playing.
Coach, both teams, your team and the Fountain Lake team, really loved the throw to the flats in this game. And it was really who was going to defend it better, and Arkadelphia did do that. And even with a takeaway right here, talk about how important this takeaway was to really – and it's still in the first quarter, or the second quarter, the first half.
First half.
Talk about how important that is.
It is, and we want to win the turnover battle. You know, our defense is very capable of getting that ball out right here. We did a really good job of that. We get to the ball. We don't secure the tackle at first, but we get a hand to the ball and punch it out. You know, when teams start getting loose with it, you know, that's what we want to be. We want to be ready to execute that. And that's the situation. We work it in practice. Our defense coach did a really good job of working turnover drills, you know, forcing turnovers. And it's really good to see that, you know, get onto the field on Friday night.
All right, Orion Roberts right here. Wow, incredible speed, incredible strength. I mean, talk about catching that ball and really just running past all of those defenders.
Yeah, so that's, you know, we throw it quick to them on a bubble. We get really good blocks down the field by the other receivers, and, you know, when Orion has the angle, you're not going to catch him. And that's kind of the situation. How that played out was Orion had a really good angle up the sideline. The defense was at a disadvantage, and they're not going to catch him. There's not many people in the state that'll catch him if he can get an angle on you. And you know, he's just so fast, especially when he has the ball in his hands.
Coach, your defensive line, linebackers had multiple. You know, we have a sack, we have QB hurries, but also multiple deflections with defensive line getting their hands in the air. Is that something that y'all practice, getting your hands in the air, or is that something that really just worked out in this game?
It's a little bit of both. Some of it is just the opportunity. We want to be disruptive. We want to be aggressive. It comes down to, just playing with the technique. Hopefully your technique gets you back there and you can disrupt and try to get a sack. But if you're in a position where you can't do that, do whatever it takes to get a hand to the ball. And that's just the mentality that we have on defense.
Coach Maddox Finley has been a force to be reckoned with for several years now. His leadership on and off the field, I'm sure, is something that is incredible. Talk about the off the field and on the field with Maddox Finley.
Yeah, Maddox is one of those guys that you never have to worry about. He's always going to do the right thing. He doesn't say a whole lot. He's not really loud, but he's always going to do the right thing. He's one of those guys that lead by example. He's gotten a lot of really good game experience. He's executed in big games. And so he's a guy that we can rely on offensively, that when it's time to make a play or we need a big catch, he's going to step up and make it.
Blake Moody, the running back right there, making a huge touchdown. One of your very many running backs that we have talked about.
Yeah.
And I know we've said it in multiple weeks now, but having that many weapons on offense, is something that's really incredible.
Especially in the backfield. Typically we've got more weapons at receiver than at running back, but this year we've got the running backs. And Blake's one of those guys that just finds a way to get in the end zone. We've seen that happen multiple games this year. He comes in and just finds a way to get in the end zone, and he's been really good about putting points on the board.
And none of that would happen without an offensive line.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about your O-line. We haven't gotten to talk to him about as much as we did last year. But let's talk about them. Talk about all your guys.
I know we were talking about the run game, and I thought we did a really good job of moving the line of scrimmage, maintaining our blocks, allowing holes for our running backs to run, but also in the pass game. In the pass game, our O-line did a really good job of maintaining the pocket. Our quarterbacks didn't really have to move the pocket much. Everything we were able to throw on time, in rhythm. And when we've got the time, we can throw in rhythm on time. That's when those big plays happen. That's what we were able to do Friday.
Yes, sir. Well, Coach, let's go ahead and talk about the players of the game from this past week, Fountain Lake edition. Let's go to the Offensive Player of the Week, Orion Roberts.
Yeah, Orion. We talked about him a couple of times during the highlights. Had over 100 yards receiving. I believe he's had over 100 yards receiving. Was that the 6th game?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think he's had 100 yards receiving the past 5 games.
Wow.
And so just really explosive, had multiple touchdowns. He's been really consistent on offense for us.
That is awesome. All right, Coach, your Defensive Player of the Week, Ethan Lewis. Let's talk about him.
Yeah, Ethan, another one that we talked about during the highlights, had an exceptional game. Was one of the tackle leaders, also had some really big tackles throughout the game, was really consistent in reading his keys and being in the spot to make plays, and he made the plays when he was there.
All right, Coach, Special Teams Player of the Week, Amari Ford.
Yeah, Amari Ford, he's starting safety for us, but he's also on all of our special teams units. He had a really exceptional game in our cover down, which we were able to do many times just through the scores, but had some really big tackles in the special teams in our kickoff unit, some plays that needed to be made, and he's getting down the field doing his job and making the tackle when he gets there.
All right, Badger Spirit Award winner for this week against Fountain Lake is Greg. Let's talk about him.
Yeah, Greg Vardaman. He's one of our big Badger supporters, our football supporters. Just throughout the year, he's always helping us out any way that he can. During the summer, he brings us some popsicles and some watermelon, and our kids always love that day. He does that a couple times throughout the summer, and then we ask for help with getting our team fed and different things, but he's always willing to step up. He's sponsored a lot of our team breakfasts, and just one of those guys that we want to recognize and show a little appreciation to.
Yes, sir. Well, Coach, the Fountain Lake game, it was homecoming week. That was a fun one. What is something that you're going to take out of this game to really put into the next couple games and even into the postseason after conference?
The biggest thing is we were explosive on offense. We executed and scored on every possession. I know that it's very hard to do and to sustain, but we want to be explosive. We want to score as much as we can on all of our possessions. But The biggest thing is the consistency. We were very consistent on offense. We were very consistent on defense. Let's just try to maintain that moving forward. We don't want to have any drop-offs. We've built up. We've struggled at times throughout the season, but we felt like we were able to get to a point where we were in rhythm. All three phases of the game were working together. Defense creating good field position for our offense, special teams creating good field position for offense and defense. That's something that we want to continue to do moving forward.
All right. Let's look at the 4A7 results from this past week. Arkadelphia Badgers. We know how that game went. 49-7 against Fountain Lake. Malvern 55, Ashdown 14. Nashville 27, Bauxite 12. Haskell Harmony Grove 48, Genoa Central 8. Let's move to the 4A7 standings from after this past week. Malvern and Nashville up there together, 3-0 in conference, 4-2 overall. Arkadelphia, Haskell Harmony Grove right behind them. Ashdown, Bauxite, Fountain Lake, and Genoa Central following closely behind them as well. But, Coach, I think we can look at this and say there's a lot of games coming up. There's a lot of games, and
Yep.
A lot of this, wins or losses, will determine the postseason and where you're bracketed. I mean, sometimes it's good to be the 1, 2, or 3, no matter where you're placed.
Yeah, we obviously want to win the conference every year. We're in a position now that we need some things to happen for that to happen. The biggest thing for us is we just got to control what we can control, and that's ourselves. Just continue to get better every week and take care of business. But there's a lot of football left. You mentioned that. There's 4 weeks left, 4 games, and a lot of things can happen in 4 games. Typically in the past, historically, you're not going to find who's the conference champion until after week 10, which is the last game of the conference.
That's true.
So
that's true.
There's a lot of things that can happen, and you've got to play all of them.
Yeah. Speaking of the next couple games, let's talk about this week's matchup on Friday. You got Bauxite at Malvern, Ashdown at Nashville, Genoa Central at Fountain Lake, and of course Arkadelphia, where we will be at Haskell Harmony Grove. Coach, let's talk about the Arkadelphia Haskell Harmony Grove game. Let's talk about the offense, the defense. Let's talk about going on the road in another conference game. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, they are a physical football team. They're going to run downhill right at you, and we've got to go defend that at their place. And so that when you play these teams that are like that, typically they're a little stronger, they're a little faster, they play a little harder when they're at their own town. And so we've got to be able to defend that. We've got to meet and exceed that physicality. We've got to do good at minimizing yards on those runs because if they get short, if they're 4th and short, if they've been getting 3 yards, they're going to go for it again and try to keep the drive going. And so we've got to do a really good job on getting the ball carried down, and we got to maintain and control the line of scrimmage. Offensively, we got to continue to execute. We got to play fast. They give us some things that we've already seen from some other teams in the past. A lot of things that we've already been able to execute, and so we feel really good about our ability to do what we can do, what we have to do to put points on the board. We just got to go execute it.
All right, Coach. Well, if you are watching right now and you cannot make it to the game on Friday in Haskell Harmony Grove, kickoff is at 7 o'clock at Haskell Harmony Grove. It is an away game for the Badgers. The Southern Bancorp Badger pregame show begins at 6:30 on ArkadelphiaBadgerTV.com/broadcast. And the game will be at 7 o'clock. And, Coach, do you have anything else to say?
Hey, we're excited about the game. We're excited about keeping it going, and go Badgers.
All right, we'll see you Friday night. Go Badgers.
Inside Badger Football is brought to you by the Arkadelphia Alliance and Chamber of Commerce, ATO Automotive, Batson Signs, Bell Wealth Services, Blakelytown, Chad Kesterson Shelter Insurance, Chicken Express, Citizens Bank, Domino's, Eccles, Thompson, and Kneebone CPA, Doctors Gary and Rob Rucker, Knight Insurance Professionals, L&J Auto Sales, Ludwig's Bakery, Park Hill Baptist Church, Patterson Federal Credit Union, Print Mania, Providence Veterinary Care, Roger Wingfield State Farm, Scott Bird DDS, The Sexton Firm, South Central Connect, Southern Bancorp, Southwest Auto Collection, Taylor King Law, Tea Time Sims, Trinity Temple Assembly of God, Turner, Rogers, Manning and Plyler CPA, Twin Rivers Health and Rehabilitation, and Welch Funeral Home. Inside Badger Football is a production of the Washita Sports Digital Network, the student sports media program housed in the Rogers Department of Communications at Washita Baptist University.